When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kann du noch?
If you've had that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Is it time to reimagine your future? The right business skills may make a difference in your career. At Capella University, we offer a relevant education that's designed to focus on what you need to know in the business world. We'll teach professional skills to help you pursue your goals, like business management, strategic planning, and effective communication. And you can apply these skills right away. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.
Hello and welcome into the Birds of the Round Table for a very abnormally scheduled Monday morning edition of the podcast. Obviously, Christmas this week, lots of travel going on, and we wanted to try to get a show out to you guys and not just go dark for the week. And so with Christmas Eve on our normal Tuesday night, this is what we've got. So we're going to give you guys a brief recap of the game yesterday. We're going to give you kind of a brief preview as best we can without even knowing who's going to play quarterback for the Cowboys game this weekend. And honestly, just one last chance to hang out with you guys before the holidays. So welcome into the podcast. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can give me a follow on Twitter at Shane Haff NFL. Joined by the whole crew. Joining us from work, don't tell his boss, is Ryan Reese. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, quietly, how are you doing today?
No, I'm doing great. There's about 2 people in my office today, and I'm only here because my laptop broke. So I'm hoping to God the one IT person that's here can fix it, and I can save my year by getting the information off of that laptop. So here I am.
I tell our followers during my podcast with Johnny, because that's during the workday for most people, don't get fired watching the podcast. Like, you can watch it later if you need to. Ryan is tempting fate podcasting from work this morning. So
theoretically, I'm on PTO. So it doesn't really count, I guess, but we'll see. I'll be fine, I'm sure.
All right. Also joined by David. Give him a follow on Twitter at PHL Eagle News. David, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, man. It's nice seeing all of y'all on the AM, ready to discuss the Eagles' big 11th. What? No, just ready to discuss the game. But yeah, let's get into it.
All right. Also joined by Dives. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Dives, there's usually more than like 12 hours between when we do post game and do this show. I don't know how we're not going to just repeat everything we said last night, but how you doing, man?
Doing well, man. Went to bed at 7:30 last night. Had a couple too many drinks during post game, but I'm not even upset about this one. I'm ready to just set it and forget it and, talk about it here and look forward to the Cowboys game. And we'll get into why.
Yeah. All right. Got several guys already in the chat commenting. Anthony says, good morning to four of my favorite people. Q says, pin poll in the AM is awesome. We got Coach Lombard saying, what's up, guys? Welcome to the chat. Let's dive into it. So the Eagles lose to the Commanders 36-33. It's kind of a wild game. Eagles score 21 in the first quarter. Washington scores 22 in the fourth quarter. It was a roller coaster of a game all the way through. We'll do our normal format here, although maybe a little more abbreviated because we haven't had as much time to really look into things. But Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. Give me your top offensive takeaway from this one.
That Saquon Barkley needs Jalen Hurts. It was clear, it was evident. The man was running all over Washington in that first quarter while Hurts was the quarterback. Getting over 100 yards, 108, 109. And when Kenny Pickett was in, not so much. I think, what did he end up with? Maybe 30, 40 more yards the rest of the game when Kenny was in. So the fact that Jalen Hurts kind of gives you that will he, won't he, hold on to the ball and run kind of vibe, that freezes defenders for even a split second, and that is what is the beauty of Jalen Hurts running this offense is he gives you that options, and that helps Saquon tremendously because again, are they going to pass? Hand it off to Saquon? Is he going to hold on to it? And it was clear, it was evident. Saquon couldn't do anything because they were just stacking the box. Knowing that Kenny Pickett wasn't going to throw the ball 40 times, so it was unfortunate for Saquon, but hopefully Jalen comes back and Saquon can continue his quest to break that record.
Yeah, the run game definitely died without Jalen Hurts. The Eagles had a 32%. I said this on the post-game show, but the Eagles had a 32% rushing success rate in this game, which is their lowest mark of the season. 6 of 7 runs were successful before Hurts left the game, and only 5 of 27 were successful after Hurts left the game. And so we can do the best O-line in football thing. We can do the best running back in football thing. We can do the star-studded wide receiver room. We can say all that, but it's very clear that not anybody can lead this team well at the quarterback position. And we saw that yesterday. And I'm not putting the blame on Pickett for losing this game.
No. Pickett did great, honestly. The fact that you come in not knowing, you were going to even see the field, I think he did great. Obviously, that one interception, aside, honestly, I think he did wonderful. And honestly, I think what this proves, and this what should show, but it won't because, obviously, the national media is filled with a bunch of idiots, but how important Jalen Hurts is to this football team and how great Jalen Hurts is as a quarterback. And, people are still going to trash him. So people are still going to do this and that. But honestly, the fact of the matter is, the Eagles were dominating that game while Jalen Hurts was in. It was up 14-0 on their way to going up 21-0. And I'm sorry, you can't tell me that if Jalen Hurts was in this game wasn't an absolute destruction of the Commanders. They looked lost. They didn't know how to handle Jalen Hurts. So I just hope that people who love to trash Jalen Hurts are going to shut the hell up.
Yeah, it's not a Jalen Hurts carried by an elite offense around him. He has an elite offense around him. It's the rising tide lifts all boats situation, and that didn't happen yesterday. So, David, I'll throw it to you next. Give me your offensive takeaway from this one.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. I mean, it was the absence of Jalen Hurts and how it was felt throughout the rest of the offense. Also, Hurts had 3 carries for 41 yards and before he left the game too. I mean, he was a threat that they couldn't stop as well. The Eagles had 263 yards at halftime and only had 75 the rest of the game. I mean, that is very telling. I also thought the offensive line played a little uninspired after Jalen left as well. I mean, everything wasn't just on Pickett, and I think some of the play calling, I think they should have used more of Pickett's athleticism. He is not just a standing duck back there. He's not a statue. He is pretty athletic. He can move. They could have done some bootlegs. They could have continued with the few RPO efforts, but they never did. So I thought the play calling got a little stale after Hurts went out. I think the O-line played a little uninspired as well. Again, I think this is one of those games you can just flush it and forget it. I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things. But for everybody who always questioned what Jalen Hurts brought to the offense, I think you saw that on full display yesterday.
Yeah. Dibes, what about you?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. I was going to go offensive line. Landon Dickerson, I thought, had some struggles there. We're used to kind of seeing the Eagles' offensive line just impose their will on people, and they didn't. They really struggled. We talked. In fact, I'm pretty sure, Shane, that was your second half adjustment during the halftime show. The offensive line had to cement their will for this Eagles team to win. And long story short, Kenny Pickett did enough to win, but Saquon only had 27 yards in the second half, something along those lines on 16 carries. It wasn't good enough, but for me, it starts on the O-line. I thought Washington played pretty well in the trenches, and major shout out to them. But offensively, I could go Devontae. I don't really want to go there. I think the bread and butter of this Eagles offense is the offensive line, and it just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, on his final 22 carries of the game, Saquon gained -4 yards before contact.
I think
there was nothing for him to no space for him to run.
Yeah. I think what Washington, and it might have been Philly as well, but I think Washington really took out the Eagles on first down, and they really struggled there, and that was a huge difference getting into his third and longs. And credit to Pickett for converting a lot of those in big situations late in the game. But I thought Washington did a great job just really stopping Saquon on those early rundowns, and that just it was just a massive cluster F with what this offense is used to doing during the second halves.
Yeah, I didn't think there was enough done after Hurts went out of the game to really adjust offensively. I was pretty disappointed. And now, granted, I'm saying this having not watched the all 22 because sometimes those opinions change. So understand this is a reaction. We're recording Monday morning, not Tuesday night. But it just felt like you were going to run the ball on first and second down with Pickett in the game, and yet the Eagles continued to go heavy and pack the box, allow Washington to pack the box with tight ends that can't block. And Calcaterra is a plus in the pass game. But when the other team knows you're going to run, you can't put that guy in the box and ask him to be able to seal off blocks with no real threat of a pass. And I just thought I thought the Eagles should have gotten under center more, used some bootlegs. I mean, Pickett's got some mobility. He's not super mobile, but you can roll him out on a bootleg. And I mean, he had the one play. It wasn't a bootleg, but he climbed the pocket and pump faked and got the ball to Devontae Smith for the first down. I thought you could have made things harder on the defense that way, or even just putting extra receivers on the field and spreading them out. Because you don't have to block the linebacker out of the box. If you just take the tight end off the field, the linebacker comes off with him. So I didn't love the way the Eagles approached that 3rd and 3 down in the red zone where they called the Wildcat pass for Saquon. It's trying to get too cute in that situation. If you're going to run a Wildcat play with a pass, maybe don't do it inside the 5-yard line. Maybe do it at midfield, where there's actually room to burn somebody. I wasn't impressed. And you're playing with a rough hand when you're dealt a rough hand when your quarterback goes out in the first quarter. There's only so much you can change on the fly from what you've installed during the week. Yeah. But I don't know. I just thought the Eagles have completely gone away from under center the last couple of weeks. And so maybe that's just not something they even installed for this game, but you elevated a fullback, I believe. And so there had to have at least been something. I would have just liked to have seen something different. You can't not just shotgun inside zone when Kenny Pickett's not going to pull the ball. I thought there were some play calling misses too. I thought you could have done more to mitigate the drop off from Hurts to Pickett. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have liked to have just seen something different.
Yep.
Yeah, Sirianni, did say nothing changes with the offense when he was interviewed at halftime, and it certainly seemed like it did. Because you're absolutely correct. Kenny Pickett can be mobile. Certainly he's not going to run around, like Jalen or whatnot, but he has the ability to run and to scramble, and they just didn't utilize it at all. And unfortunately, we're all. I'm going to assume that Kenny Pickett is going to be your starter because the last couple of times we've had concussions on this team, I think it was Slay. I forget who the other one was, but they took more than a week. Sidney Brown. They took more than a week to come back. So most likely we'll be seeing Kenny Pickett come Sunday.
Yeah. All right, let's roll on to the defensive side of the ball. Wait, Dibes, I asked you yours, right? Yeah, I got to everybody. Dibes,
Can I make one more point about the offense real quick?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up a player that Ryan might not like too much, but Grant Calcaterra's struggling as a blocker is a liability, and they could benefit from bringing back a old friend who was just a blocking tight end like Jack Stoll. He was far more suited for the way this offense is. The Eagles need Dallas Goedert back if they're going to make a serious run at the Super Bowl, and they're also going to need to take a tight end with a very high draft pick. Calcaterra didn't even have a target in the game. If he's not going to be targeted at all and he can't block, he shouldn't even be on the field.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Obviously, I tweeted that during the game that Calcaterra was an absolute liability. And yeah, you're absolutely 100% right. If he's not going to be used in the passing game, then why is he going to be used in the blocking game when he can't even do that? And listen, you're right. Me and Jack Stoll have had our beef. We go back and forth. It happens, but I'd rather have him sitting there blocking with that beautiful mullet flying around everywhere than Grant Calcaterra and the atrocious game he had yesterday.
Yeah. Imagine being a pass catcher that's not A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith yesterday. There were 25 passes thrown, and 23 of them went to A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. So you're just out there doing cardio if you're Grant Calcaterra or Jahan Dotson.
I wonder what Jahan Dotson thinks about all this. Man,
I don't know. All right, let's flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. And Dibes, I'll throw it to you first. What's your defensive takeaway from this game?
I think the secondary was exposed. I didn't like how the secondary played. Obviously, Quinyon Mitchell showed that he's human yesterday for the first time. I'm glad it's this week 16, and not in the postseason. Darius Slay had his struggles for sure. There were some good moments, but some really ugly moments, especially with Tristan McCollum. I want to open this one to you guys because I have a different take on C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I know he needs to be smarter, but this goes more towards the NFL and the refs than it goes C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It's all about, how they didn't call an offsetting penalty on the push, the shove. And it's all about the egos of the refs. And it's more so like, when did the NFL just turn into a zero trash talk league? When did they start throwing, these BS penalties for mean words? And I can't for the life of me think of the last time this kind of stuff happened. What the refs did yesterday, I thought completely altered the game. I'm not going to rip Tristan McCollum. He is what he is. But I thought that it was not balanced from the NFL refs. I have more of a problem with the softness of the NFL. I just thought it was an ego trip from the referee more so than it was C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I thought I'm going to do it. I feel like there was an agenda against CJ. I feel like they were really watching him. And yes, he needs to be smarter. But, man, it was a bad look. It was a bad look for the NFL. There's no freaking video on the second one. And that, to me, speaks volumes that something shady was going on. And yeah, CJ Gardner-Johnson is a vet. That's what you get with this guy. But I have more problems with the NFL than I do with CJ Gardner-Johnson this morning. And that's how I woke up.
Yeah, I mean, NFL officiating is terrible, and it was pretty terrible all game here. And it's definitely frustrating to like get punched in the face and be the one that gets flagged. It's also frustrating to see your quarterback get speared in the head, and then like a drive later, the other team gets flagged or you get flagged for unnecessary roughness on the quarterback for a 2-hand push after the ball was out. So.
Look at this ref, Shane. Look at this ref. Like, staring right at him. And tell me there's not a freaking agenda on CJ Gardner-Johnson. It's just ridiculous. I get he's an annoying player. He was voted like most annoying player by the players in the NFL. But this is ridiculous.
But that's not a penalty. Being annoying is not a penalty. But yet, somehow, the referee right there sees another player shove his helmet off of him. He does nothing to retaliate, but yet the referee is in his face. And you said it perfectly. I not only do I think they were targeting CJ Gardner-Johnson, I think they were doing the same for Carter. I think they were looking at him the entire game, looking for him to make a mistake. And yet, they are constantly staring at him, but yet they don't make any holding calls when he's getting held by two people on 90% of the plays. So the NFL refereeing has been god-awful all year. Yesterday was no exception. This play with A.J. Brown is ridiculous. Lattimore had 2 hands on him, holding him, and the other player hit him in the head, in the helmet. How is there not 2 penalties, much less 1? The NFL needs to get their shit together. They need to get new referees. They need to start training these referees. And also, as it is in every single other sport, it's not about you. You are a referee. Shut up and get out of the way and let them play football.
Yeah. I don't like having the officiating conversation. I feel like it's one of my main talking points for the last month of the season because I do think it's been really bad. We come out of this game and I know how I feel about the officiating. What I don't have a clue about is how I actually feel about the defense. I told you guys this off air, but for the listeners, my son asked me last night. We were talking about the game, and he asked me. He's 9, super into football now. We had to have the talk yesterday about stop being so dramatic and don't let a game ruin your day because he was like being distraught after the game and is like, listen, don't let a football game ruin your day. Go enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Like, it's just a game. If they're not fun, then we don't need to do this. So it's frustrating to lose, but let's not let it ruin our day. And so good learning moment for him. But he asked me when we were kind of debriefing the game last night at dinner, he was like, was the defense good or bad today? And I was like, that's a great question because you force 5 turnovers. That's a good day in the office. You give up 36 points, 22 of them in the fourth quarter. That's a bad day in the office. You do those 2 things in the same game. I have no idea what to say, whether you were good or bad. But I look at this game and I do think I feel like, and again, I haven't got to watch all the film and stuff, but I feel like the defense got rattled in this game because the defense has been so good in like their communication and their route distributions and things like that throughout the season. And that wasn't there today. And that's not just like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's off the field and Tristan McCollum's on the field because the busts weren't all McCollum. Like they were kind of everywhere. It sort of felt like to me, the defense felt a lot of pressure once Hurts went out of the game, and they got some turnovers that didn't lead to touchdowns that led to 3 points. And it felt like things sort of got away from the defense. And there's a lot of young guys on that defense. Quinyon Mitchell, Reed Blankenship is young, but Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, it felt like things sort of snowballed and it got a little chaotic for the defense. And ultimately, the hope is you get into a playoff game with your back against the wall now and there's this temptation to panic a little bit, and you can draw off of that and be like, no, we've been here before, and we let the emotions get in the way, and it cost us a game, and we do better next time. So I did feel like the defense, like, Washington did a really good job offensively when Jaden Daniels wasn't throwing interceptions and they weren't fumbling. Like, that their offense did well when they weren't turning the ball over. I felt like the Eagles defense sort of let the moment overtake them. And you see that with teams with a lot of young players. My ultimate hope is that's a learning experience and it doesn't happen now in the playoffs. Dibes, what do you have?
Can I interrupt real quick? Like, I want to throw it to Shane on this one because you're way smarter than I am. Why the hell did Vic Fangio blitz so much yesterday? Coming into yesterday, Jaden Daniels, his passer rating is 107 against the blitz. They blitzed more than they did all season yesterday, and I don't understand it. Do you have any answer to that?
Well, I know they got the one interception when they blitzed. That the interception where he sailed it that Reed, I think it was the one Reed intercepted. They brought pressure off of an edge, and so that's probably part of it. I think a big part of it is Brandon Graham, Bryce Huff, both on IR. Josh Sweat leaves the game with an injury. You feel like you need to get pressure on Jaden Daniels, and your top three edge rushers are out of the game. And so, you've got linebackers that are good blitzers. I would assume that's why he did it. I don't know that it's the button that I would have pressed, but the Eagles are in an unfortunate spot where they've stacked a lot of injuries at pass rusher. And, obviously Graham's done for the year. I think Sweat is ultimately fine. I think, and you have Bryce Huff that's hopefully coming back in the next week or two. So hopefully that's better. But yeah, there's no doubt. And also there's a thing about scrambling quarterbacks that we've got to be concerned a bit about now, because if you look back, like the Eagles haven't played a lot of really good scrambling quarterbacks this year, but the last two they played are Lamar Jackson, who rushed for 79 yards against them, and Jaden Daniels, who rushed for 81 yards against them. And it just felt like every third or fourth down was a clutch Jaden Daniels scramble. And so that's something that, you got to think about going into the postseason. Like, you're likely matching up, you're likely drawing Washington in the postseason at the beginning. Now, there's not a lot of other scrambling quarterbacks in the NFC. Jordan Love, but he's less scrambler, more improviser, I would say. Jared Goff's not. Sam Darnold's not. Michael Penix, if they make the playoffs, is not. So Baker Mayfield's not. I mean, Baker Mayfield can move, but so you have there's one good scrambler that you're going to have to face in the NFC side, and that's Jaden Daniels. And he just dominated you on third and fourth down. And so that's something they're going to have to figure out and key on. And then, of course, if you make it to a Super Bowl, you got Josh Allen and potentially waiting there, Lamar Jackson potentially waiting there. So that's something I would keep an eye on. Well, they don't really play a scrambler down the stretch, but it's something to look for in the playoffs.
Eagles fan has a great comment. They should start finding the refs just like they do with the players. More so, like we talked about the Jalen Hurts one. Like, how about the chop block on Jordan freaking Davis, which took him out? Like, it's now starting to hurt guys. And I fully agree with this comment. Like, their accountability needs to be held on both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Think about how many times after the fact they fine a player, but yet during the game there was no penalty. Like, that right there shows you that obviously there was a missed call. And yeah, the referees need to be held accountable. But as far as the defense, I think they were. Shane said it perfectly.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
This episode is brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. Catch every moment of your team's playoff push with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. You'll get amazing features like multi-view, and right now, it's only $49 for the rest of the NFL regular season. So give yourself the ultimate gift this holiday season. Get NFL Sunday Ticket for $49. Sign up now at youtube.com/Sunday Ticket. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. And now I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free and each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Their backs were against the wall. They let their emotions kind of take over. And, this player went out and then this player, they had about 4 or 5 guys, maybe even more, that missed some time during that game. And, again, you have that combined with the fact that, the pressure is now all on you, as your offense has taken a hit due to the injury to Hurts. And, I think this is a great learning experience. It's something that it could draw on. I also think that personally, I wasn't a fan of this win streak heading into the playoffs. That would have been 13 games going into the playoffs, and that's again more pressure, added pressure that didn't need to be there. So in a way, I'm somewhat okay with this loss because, again, there was a lot of factors that came into it. There was some learning experiences that can be drawn from this. The pressure of the win streak is now gone. And, again, hopefully nobody is significantly hurt and we can just move on to Dallas and hopefully just clinch everything there and, whatever, rest guys for New York. And that should be hopefully the goal as we, cinch up the 2 seed.
For what it's worth, I'm fairly certain the block on Jordan Davis is a legal block. It's dirty potentially, but you can go low on a defensive lineman inside the tight end box as long as somebody hasn't engaged him high. If somebody engages him high and you hit him low, that's a chop block. But I'm pretty sure you can cut block like that as long as he's not engaged high. So it sucks, but I'm pretty sure that's a legal play.
That should hopefully be a penalty in the future.
Yeah.
So again, that all that does is just lead to potential injuries, and the NFL needs to realize that should be the goal of certain penalties, is to avoid getting somebody hurt, and that seems to be their cause going forward, especially with the quarterback stuff. But they are wildly inconsistent. Sometimes they will baby a quarterback, and other times they will just let things go, and it is what it is. So there needs to be some consistency, and I think we can all agree it's been one of the most frustrating things is the consistency on both teams getting the same calls. That's where the problem lies, and it's not happening, and it's across the league.
Yeah. All right, let's keep rolling here. David, give me your top defensive takeaway, unless it's about the officials, and then give me your second defensive takeaway.
No, it is not about the officials. Sirianni said during half that, nothing was going to change, but I think the offense and the defense both were chasing it after Hurts went down. Fangio blitzed far too often, like y'all mentioned. The defensive struggles in the red zone were very uncharacteristic. I believe they scored 3 touchdowns in 4 trips there. And they have had trouble stopping not only running quarterbacks, but kind of twitchy type quarterbacks in the pocket as well. They've been elusive for them to get to this season. They blitzed, like you said, 40% of the time on his dropbacks, which was a little, uncharacteristic as well. Sirianni, after the game, said they were sloppy, as far as the penalties and too many men on the field and with the fundamentals. But some of that comes with a lot of new faces on the field. I mean, Jalix Hunt played a whole lot of snaps yesterday, like around 40 of them. Tristan
36.
McCullum had to come in for, CJ. So there was a lot of reasons for that, and it wasn't just what the Commanders did. It was also, it just seemed like the defense was chasing its tail a lot yesterday. But there were some positives as well. Zach Bond forced his 5th fumble of the season. I think that's the second most in the NFL. His All-Pro quest is still fully intact. Slay gave up one big play, but he was also very effective yesterday. He had 7 tackles, 3 PBUs, including the tip pass that Blake Blankenship picked off. I mean, he's been huge for this defense, and when he's not on the field, you've seen the difference. Many people counted him out, but they're much better with him on the field, if nothing else, from his play, also from his mentorship. So I just think this is one of those games you can just flush it down the toilet. Jalen Carter, I mean, unbelievable again. Reading plays, forcing fumbles on that second drive. He bottles up the middle better than anybody in the NFL. He's constantly fighting through double teams. He's probably one of the more disruptive DTs in the league. I just think this is one of those games that just got away from them. They chased it too much. I think they'll learn from that. You won't see that happen again. And if they matched up with them in the wild card round, I think they're going to beat the hell out of them.
This is such a wild. It was such a wild game. There was so many factors of things going on. But this is only the second time in the Sirianni era where they've had more than a +1 in the turnover battle that they've lost. So just to show you how wild and crazy that's been, anytime they've been at least a +1, they've only lost one other time, and this was the second one. So it's just a strange game considering they got 5 turnovers and they still managed to lose at the last second.
And it's another reminder that the biggest obstacle the Eagles will face in getting to their second Super Bowl appearance in 3 years is health.
And themselves.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep rolling on. I don't even remember what's next. I don't have my notes. Player of the game. Let's go player of the game. David, I'll throw it to you first. Give me your player of the game from this one.
Oh, my Lord. Jake Elliott for making 4 or 5 field goals and maybe assuaging some people's fears. He missed the 56, but he did hit a 50. He made the kick to take what should have been the game-winning lead there at the end. He was clutch when you needed him. He's taken a lot of crap this year, but they are going to need him, and they're probably going to need a 50-plus yard field goal in the playoffs to finish where they want to be this season. So, yeah, I'll give him the player of the game for coming up clutch. It's just unfortunate the defense couldn't hold it for him.
Yeah. I would love to know what was going on with kicking in this game. Like Elliott missing that 56-yarder, but it was short, and then constantly kicks dropping at the 10. That was just weird. I would love to know what was going on with kicking distance.
The winds seem to be wild. Just you're looking at some of those kickoffs. The ball was just, wavering all around. So I'm assuming the wind. Yeah, assuming the wind was a big factor. I think that 56-yarder. What I think was more positive out of that, the fact that he did miss it, but the fact that it was straight. It was like I don't fear Jake Elliott's leg. Like, he's obviously got power in his leg. It's been the accuracy that's been the problem this year. And the kicks yesterday were very, very accurate. So that's what I was happy about with Jake.
Yeah. All right. Diabs, I'll throw it to you. Give me your player of the game. You're muted.
Yeah.
My bad. I could easily say AJ, but I'm going to go Frankie Luvu. 4 tackles. He had 3 run stops. And he had a cheap shot on Jalen in the head, sliding down. Some serious loser shit. And Frankie Luvu gets my nod.
All right. Ryan, your player of the game.
Oh, wow. It's tough to follow that one. Jesus. I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett. It's always very hard to just come into a game mid-game, especially, considering hasn't really played, done anything really this year. So I'm going to give him, he managed to keep the Eagles in the game. Was he great? No. Was he perfect? Absolutely not. But, he did enough. He did enough to keep them in the game. And again, we'd be completely talking a different story had Devontae made that catch. Just like last time with Saquon, it'd be a different story if he had caught that ball. So things happen, but I think Kenny Pickett deserves a little praise for keeping the Eagles in that game and trying to get them to win.
All right. I'll go Darius Slay. Slay got burned on the one where he looked inside and the ball went over his outside shoulder on the long touchdown drive early in the game. But it's probably the most impactful game that Slay's played in a long time. Like David mentioned earlier, he had 3 pass breakups. He had 2 defensive stops. He got a hand on the ball that Reed Blankenship intercepted that should have ended the game if the Eagles could have picked up a first down. He missed a few plays with injury again, and it seems like he's getting banged up every week, which I'm still very much concerned about going into the playoffs, and I hope he can stay healthy. But I thought Slay had a really good game, so I'll give him player of the game. So, all right, let's flip the page and let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys game coming up this weekend. And so as the situation stands now, there is a hypothetical, theoretical shot the Eagles could get the 1 seed, but it's not going to happen. So let's talk about the 2 seed. To get the 2 seed, all the Eagles need to happen is to not lose both of their games. Well, there's balloons flying in Ryan's background again. That's the second time that's happened. And we still don't know how he does it. But so that's in the final 2 games. If the Eagles get 1 tie or 1 win, they have the 2 seed. If the Commanders get 1 tie or 1 loss, the Eagles have the 2 seed. It doesn't matter if Minnesota or Green Bay finishes with a better record than the Eagles, but a worse record than the Lions, because the division winners get the top 4 seeds. So the Eagles are highly likely to get the 2 seed. Highly likely to face off with the Commanders in the first round of the playoffs. And they can secure that with the win against the Cowboys this weekend. So hard to talk about this game, not knowing for sure who's going to be playing so early in the week. No injury reports, but let's do it anyways. Dives, give me your top matchup to watch. Eagles, Cowboys.
I mean, the obvious one is who the hell starts at quarterback for the Eagles versus the Cowboys pass rush. Baker Mayfield was running for his life last night against the Cowboys. 4 different Cowboys players recorded a sack. They were very good at getting into Baker Mayfield's space. They held the Bucs. The Cowboys defense held the Bucs to 24 points with consistent pressure. So, I mean, that, off the top of my head, Parsons and that pass rush against probably Kenny Pickett is going to be a problem.
All right. Pass rush against Kenny Pickett. So assuming he's the one that plays. David, what do you have for top matchup to watch?
I have the Eagles defensive backs versus Cooper Rush. He had a pretty good game last night. He almost threw for 300 yards, had a touchdown. Obviously, CD Lamb has always been hard to cover. But I think that Quinion gave up his first touchdown, and I think you will see a more motivated play from him in the coming weeks. He did not like how that unfolded yesterday for him. He was riding high, and I think he got humbled a little bit, but I'm not so sure his personality feels like he got humbled. I think he's more angry. So I'm looking forward to that matchup with them. Dallas does, have a lot of weapons. They have CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson. They will pose some matchup issues for the Eagles, especially if it's Kenny Pickett, as his counterpart going against Cooper Rush. So I think that'll be the tail of the game right there, is if the Eagles defensive backs get back to shutting down the opposing receivers, and then that everything works in tandem. Then the pass rush gets home at Cooper Rush. So I think that's probably one of the bigger matchups to look forward to.
All right. We've got quarterbacks on both sides as a matchup to watch. Ryan, what do you have for your matchup to watch?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with Kenny Pickett versus the Dallas defensive backs. They've been very good actually this year, and they're great at taking the ball away, and Bland is flying around there playing really good. So it'll certainly be up to Kenny to kind of navigate the very good Dallas Cowboy pass defense. So that's what I'll be watching.
All right. I'm going to go Rico Dowdle against the Eagles front 7. So Rico Dowdle had a rough game against Tampa Bay. He only had 23 yards on 13 carries. But prior to that game, he's been on a tear.
Yeah.
Both going into yesterday, he had rushed for 478 yards in the last 4 weeks, and only Saquon Barkley had outrushed Rico Dowdle since week 9. Now, obviously, he had a rough game against Tampa Bay, who does have a really good defensive front that challenges the run. Also, I didn't get to really watch that game yesterday, but I would imagine they were stacking the box a lot, and that probably contributed to Cooper Rush's passing numbers. And so, I'm not scared of Cooper Rush. The Eagles dominated the first time they played them, but the Cowboys weren't using Rico Dowdle like they are now, and he wasn't running as well when he was used. And so can the Eagles defense bounce back and contain Dowdle, who I think he's had a really good season once they've started to use him more without overcommitting and opening things up for Cooper Rush to make it easier. And the Cowboys are going to be trying to answer the same question, assuming it's Kenny Pickett. How much, can they slow down Saquon Barkley without just making it super easy for Pickett to throw the football? I think you're probably going to see a real run-heavy game, a lot of stacked boxes in this one, in the battle of what is potentially going to be 2 backup quarterbacks. But hopefully the Eagles can get the win in this one, and then you can just rest the starters. Or not, I mean, you can't rest everybody, but rest the key guys. Get Saquon out of there. Get Jalen Carter off the field and get him some rest heading into the playoffs. So that's my top matchup to watch. Let's go score predictions. This is the earliest in the week we've ever done a score prediction, and we're not going to do our player props and stuff this week just because it's way too early for that in the week. But score predictions, Ryan, I'll throw it to you first. Give me your score prediction.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 24-18 Birds. Obviously, it's going to be a lower scoring game. I think there's going to be a lot of reliance on the run game for both sides. So look for Saquon to have himself a nice day, and get a couple touchdowns, and get a nice victory and head the heck out of here with the division.
All right, David, what do you have?
I'm going to go under the assumption that Jalen is going to come back in time to play this game. And I'm going to go 27-10 Eagles. I think they bounce back, and then he can take a seat in week 18 and get his bye week. But 3 weeks of not playing Jalen Hurts before the playoffs would not fare the best. So I think they're going to do everything they can to get him on the field. I don't think it was a severe concussion from what I've read, that it was a determination for him not to go back in the game. So I think he'll be ready to go.
All right. Dives, what do you have?
Would love that. I do think Kenny Pickett will be the starter. With that being said, I think it'll be a close game. Hopefully special teams doesn't give the Cowboys short field like we saw all last night, yesterday afternoon. Give me the Eagles 26, the Cowboys 24 with that last second field goal.
All right. I'm going to pull a Dibes and give you 2 score predictions. So my Kenny Pickett is the starter score prediction is going to be 21-10 Eagles. Now we'll make it 21-13 Eagles. So if Kenny Pickett's the starter, the Eagles win 21-13. If Jalen Hurts is the starter, the Eagles win 34-10. So, I've got both bases covered here.
I remember last week you were like, I'm never predicting like a multi-touchdown win for the Eagles ever again, and now you're back at it.
Yeah.
They did win. They did win. What was it, 34-6 the first time around in Dallas? So I think the defense is going to be angry this week. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. And I think that is going to about do it for this show that we said was going to be shorter, but somehow is the same length as all the other ones, even without picks. But thank you guys for joining in. Live viewership down, comments down a little bit because we're at a weird time this morning. And but hopefully you guys listening back later enjoy the show. We wish you guys all Merry Christmas, safe travels as you're driving around. Maybe listen to the podcast version. Don't watch the video version while you're driving. Stay safe out there. But we'll throw it around the horn for final thoughts and plugs. Dives, you're up. Tell the people where they can find you, what you got going on. The floor is yours.
Ryan and I and Rob did a reaction show to yesterday's game at Party on Broad. Go check that out. The day before that, yesterday, we also did a college football playoff reaction. and top prospects to know. Go check that out. I'm about halfway done with my top 10 position rankings in the NFL draft. I've done linebackers, wide receivers, cornerbacks, tight ends, edge rushers, and quarterbacks. Defensive tackles and safeties will be coming out this week after the holidays. The next couple of days, it's going to be a lot of fun for my family. We've got a lot of parties, and I'm heading there right now. So the Tito's will be flowing in just a couple hours. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas, a safe and happy Christmas to everyone that watches and everyone that doesn't watch. So thank you, everyone.
All right. David, plugs, man, floor's yours.
Yeah, you can follow everything at PHL Eagle News. I did a piece about Santa snowballs last week. If you haven't read it, check it out. I have a keys and takeaways from this game, and I'll probably be doing a preview piece for Dallas. But to echo what Dibe said, wish all of you a Merry Christmas. Thank you all for joining us all this year. It's been a really fun season so far, and it's not going to stop now. This was just a blip in the road. Don't even worry about this game. Everything's going to be fine going forward. I think they're really built for a very deep playoff run. So Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy holidays. Be safe. Enjoy the time with your family and friends. See y'all guys next week.
All right. Ryan, floor is yours, man.
Yeah, you can certainly follow me right here at Philly Sports PSA on X. As Dives mentioned, there's a couple of videos out there that we just did for Party on Broad. Obviously, if you are not following the Eagles Pin Pull Network, please make sure you do so. Follow it on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts or whatever. But obviously, happy holidays to everybody. Have a wonderful Christmas season, however you celebrate the holidays. But it's been a fantastic year. This is obviously one of my favorite shows. I've been doing podcasting for way too long, but this is certainly something I look forward to every week. Talking with the boys and talking with the people too. Honestly, the comments are what drives this show. So hats off to you guys, everybody in the comment section. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next time around. We'll be here before the new year, right?
Hope so.
Yeah, we should be. Wait, yeah. No.
New Year's Eve is Tuesday, right?
Yeah, New Year's Eve is.
I mean, listen, we could do a half of the bag episode. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I know Dom's is in for it. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining the show. Thanks for supporting the show throughout the years, especially this year as we transition to new platforms. And so we really appreciate you guys following along, sharing the content with other people. It means a lot.
Yeah.
May your Christmas be filled with many Eagles shirts, sweaters, hats, sweatpants, all the things that you definitely need to tweet at us so we can see it all, because I always need ideas. Everybody's always like, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, I don't know. Eagles stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That works
Can't
for
go
me.
wrong.
But
Gainwell jerseys.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Merry Christmas to everyone except Frankie Louvu, and we will catch you guys next time for, I guess, a New Year's Eve edition of the podcast. Go Birds.